Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today is the big day. We're going to install the brand new controller, and this is made by Psychosis, I think the name is. I'm not sure. So let's get to it, because this controller is massive compared to the one that we have stock on the e-vader. It does come with the wiring, all the wires and everything. So we are going to go one by one on disconnecting the old ones and connecting the new ones. Comes with that. And then over here, it does come with the Bluetooth module. And good thing it comes with like a little QR code, so we're going to need to scan that to get to the app. It comes with some bolts. And let's remove this gigantic, massive thing. And holy cow, it's a bit heavy too. Yeah, this thing has some pretty good weight. I would probably say around maybe 10 to 12 pounds actually on this thing. Alrighty, so let's get to it on installing this big bad boy onto the e-vader. Now there's going to be a lot to do, or a lot to remove on the e-vader to get this massive bad boy onto the bike. So let's get to it, and I'm also going to break down this video so it's not so long. I'll probably break it down in increments of 10 to 20 minutes. That way you guys are not stuck watching like a 3-hour video. And then also, if anything, I'll probably maybe post timestamps and showing what each timestamp would have a little description, so that way you guys could kind of click on that in case you're just looking for a particular part of the installation to view. Let's go over to the e-vader and get started. Alrighty guys, we're going to go mobile on this one because I need to pinpoint all of the spots that you're going to need to remove screws. And trust me, there is a lot of screws, and we do need to remove both this side and the other side side fairings, because we do need to get to the underneath of this section, because that's where it's at. And we want to make sure that we have enough space to actually mount it. So let's get to it. And I'll try to tell you what sizes that you're going to need for the screws. So first off, you're going to need your key. Put your key in here, turn it, and let's go ahead and remove the seat. As you can see, I already did that. And put it off to the side over here. You're going to see that before I had 2 black batteries, but now I have a black and blue, because this one is a lithium iron phosphate battery. I will have a video coming up soon about this particular guy. Definitely recommend it over the lead acid, as that's what this is. But enough about that. What we're going to need to remove is going to be this screw over here, and it's going to be on both sides. It's going to be a Phillips screwdriver, as you can see here. And the only way to access it is by removing the seat. So we're going to have to remove this screw here, also on that side. That screw, as you can see, I already kind of removed some of the screws. Besides that, a screw over here and a screw over here. That's going to be it for this center part. Next, we're going to have to remove is going to be right over here. Let me get some back a little bit. We're going to have to remove this screw over here. This bolt over here, that's going to be a 10mm socket. This bolt over here, 10mm socket, 10mm socket. There's actually a screw underneath the bike. Let me see if I can get to it. You can see it. It is right over here, and that's going to be with a Phillips screwdriver. There's going to be one on both sides, so one on this side and then one on that side, but you can see I already removed it. Next, we're going to have to remove 4 of these screws, and that's going to be right over here on both sides. One here, one there, one over here, one over there. It's Phillips screwdriver. Next, there'll be a Phillips screwdriver underneath here, so one here on this side and one over there on that side. After that, there's going to be a few more screws, Phillips as well. One up here on this top, one over here on the top. So both of those on both this side and the other side. Then there's going to be a tiny screw right over here, Phillips as well. So both on this side and the other side. You don't have to worry about these screws here. You don't have to worry about those. Just those ones that I had mentioned. So make sure on both sides you remove that. On this side, there's going to be a cap here with a Phillips, so you're going to have to remove that screw, pop the cap off, and there's going to be a 10mm socket nut here, so go ahead and remove it that side. All the screws that I mentioned on the other side will be the same on this side. And then over here, there's going to be a screw right over here, so both on this side, and I forgot to mention over here on that side as well. So go ahead and remove all those screws. Make sure when you remove the screws that you put them in a little Ziploc bag, because you definitely do not want to lose any of these screws. So after we're done with all that, let me show you what we're going to need to do on the inside. We're going to have to also remove this center department over here. But let's go ahead and remove both sides first, and then I'll show you how to remove that part over there. All right, now that you get all the screws removed, then you're pretty much just gonna remove it. Make sure that you're careful. Just pop it out over here, pop it here, and it should come out. Now, I do have a video coming up on how to install LEDs in that center part. That's why you see LEDs over there. And that's why you see cables over here of LEDs, because I actually put LEDs inside of the plastic to actually illuminate. So I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. It's pretty much, I wanted to show you this on this side because it's not that hard to remove. On the other hand, putting it back is a little bit more trickier. But as you can see, now you can see kind of all the guts and glory on the inside of the e-vader. So now let's move over to the other side. And it's pretty much the same thing, so I'm not really going to show you, but you at least know what to do. Alright, we got both sides already out, as you can see. And I did decide to put the screws in two different bags. So I know this one's for one side, this one's for the other side. That way they're separated, and I know what's what. Alright, so now what we need to do over here is we need to go ahead and we're going to remove this center area. And before we do that, we do need to remove a couple screws to kind of really get it out of there and not have it attached to these plastic wings area. So we're going to remove a screw right here, Phillips screwdriver. Sorry that it's kind of blurry. Camera's just having a hard time with my focusing. Might have to buy a new camera. So a screw right there and a screw right over here on this side, right over there. One there, and then there's going to be another one right over here on the top where I'm finger. So one there in the bottom. And then one here at the top and one there in the bottom. So those two screws should be able to remove this center piece, you know, away from these winglets. But we also need to remove a few more screws, and it's going to be these bolts right here. One bolt here, one bolt here. That's going to be with the 10mm socket. And then over here on this end, we're going to have to remove this little guy. I believe it's an 8mm socket to remove this guy. So we're going to unscrew that one, and then we should be able to remove all of this. We won't be able to remove it completely because you can see that the fuse cable is still connected. So we'll see what we can do once we kind of get everything loosened up. All right, we already removed all of those screws. Now you can see that this back end will lift up, and also the front will lift up. Let me go to the other side so you guys can see a little bit better of how everything is looking. You do see I have some LEDs over here. You're not going to have this. You're not going to have this aluminum. And you're asking, why do I have aluminum here? Why do I have aluminum there? It's because I did put this LED strips here, and I wanted as much reflection as possible. That's why I have aluminum, to reflect more of that light to shine through the plastic. Again, that's a whole separate video. Right now we're going to be concentrating on that controller. But I'm just giving you a little bit of what's going on there and why I have the aluminum there. So I'm going to have to go ahead and disconnect my lights to properly get this out. But as you can see, it's already pretty much loosened up. So let me go ahead, and also I have an alarm on here. So I have a video for that. I'm going to have to clip a lot of these zip ties that I did, because this is my horn relay that I did, my aftermarket horn, which is right here, to give that super loud tone horn so people could hear you and, you know, move out of your way, because that little tiny tweet horn was not going to cut it. Alright, so that's that. Let me go ahead and remove some of these cables, or disconnect some of my LEDs and stuff like that, so I could get to the main thing and show you what to do next. Alright, so now that we got all the screws, you can see we could actually get this out of the way as much as possible. Again, we're not going to be able to do it completely because of the fuse still connected, but we'll try to do our best. So right now, as you can see, I do have an alarm, and this is what these two red cables are for. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that, unplug that, get this, there we go. So now that's completely disconnected, and now I believe I could actually flip this thing over, and now you guys could see on how the bottom part of this looks like, which is very interesting actually to see the bottom of it. Now as you can see, that's why I put the alarm horn or siren right over here. So yeah, it comes with this plug. That's the part where we, you know, usually that's where we would charge it. So it's like the charge port. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of see if I could put this down lightly or gently off to the side, because obviously we don't really need that right now. Actually, if I unplug this part, it'll give me a little bit more slack to kind of lay this down as far as I can here to the side. Hopefully it's not tugging too much here on these cables. Alright, so now we have access to our controller, which is right over here. And you can see that we also got this little distribution block going on as well. Let me see if I can get a higher view for you guys so you guys could see everything. There we go. All right, so now next thing we need to do is we need to remove this guy. And I have the power on the little fuse box. I turned it on the off position so that way there's no power running to anything. So any chance of electrocution shock hopefully is down to a minimal. And hopefully maybe preferably none. All right, so we got our little control box here. So we are going to have to disconnect a lot of these wires. But before we do that, let's actually get access to moving the controller all together. I believe it's going to be with an 8mm socket, so there's going to be one screw right over here on this side and one screw over here on that side. That's the only two screws I see so far. Let me see if I move this. I don't see. Nope. So those are the only two screws. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those two screws, and you guys do the same. So I just noticed that when removing the screws, be mindful that it is actually a nut on there. So as you're unscrewing it from the top, hold the bottom because the nut may fall somewhere. You definitely don't want to lose that. And that's for both sides. There's one up there, one over there. So make sure you hold those. And for me, as I'm removing screws from one side, I'm putting it for that bag. Removing screws from this side, I'm putting it for that bag as well. So that way, you know, they're separated, not all bunched up in one bag. All right, so now we got those screws out. Let's see if we can remove this. Oh, yes, we can. All right. And there is actually a bracket that's actually welded on here. I'm very surprised. That's going to come in handy because that other one is a behemoth. We may have to do a modification on that because I don't think that the brackets like this one, obviously these brackets are meant for this little tiny guy, and the other one is so big, we're going to have to maybe do a special bracket or a modification for sure. All right, so we got that. There is so much wire here. Try to, you know, pull these wires without damaging the wires or tugging them on anything. And yeah, let me try to get some of this. This big orange one, that's the one that goes straight to the motor. So that's the motor wire for the hub or whatnot. And that thing is ginormous, or it's pretty fat, I would say, because there is some bigger wires going in there. But for sure, once we get all these wires, you know, connected to the other one, I am for sure going to tidy up these wires a lot better than what they originally kind of just bundled everything up. So yeah, and I'm trying to see how to remove this block if there is a way. I'll probably have to get my screwdriver to kind of just pop it. I'll do it from the negative side, and I think that's all we need to do, or unless there's some screws up here. No, there is no screws on the top. Let me see, let me move this over to the side. It's gonna be kind of hard to show you, but it's just there's holes, but there's no screws in there. It's just like melted plastic or something. That's how they have it together. We're gonna also might need to get some electrical tape, you know, to you know, put over the positive, because we definitely don't want the positive cables touching any part of the metal frame, causing a short or causing, you know, sparks or anything like that, or destroying the battery. These lead acid batteries, even though they're not particularly all that great, you know, for the bike, they're still really good batteries. So we could actually use them for something another project or whatever, or maybe even recycle them, you know, if you have really no use for them, or you could sell them on eBay, sell them to someone else who may need some batteries, maybe for a battery project. So that's it. That's why I want to kind of just be careful with everything. All right, so there's a zip tie holding that. So I'm going to go ahead and clip a few more zip ties. Here is the Bluetooth module that I was telling you guys about. Alright guys, so that's pretty much going to conclude this portion of the video. Stay tuned for the next one, as I'm trying to keep these videos short for the controller.